It's now my honor to introduce our MC for the evening, New York Times best-selling author and Hall of Fame speaker, my good friend, Mr. Don Hutson.
Thank you, R.E. Lincoln, and he has been a great president, and this is his last night. Why don't we give R.E. a nice hand? Well, good evening. I am delighted to be your MC this evening, and tonight we celebrate entrepreneurship. We celebrate individual achievement. And we're going to be inducting tonight 3 new members into the Society of Entrepreneurs, and we will also have a special award that will follow those inductions that you'll hear more about shortly. Everybody we're honoring tonight are people who deserve every bit of the honor. They're people who have built great organizations, and they've had a tremendous impact on the great city of Memphis and our entire region. You know, we talk about high achievers and all the people who work diligently to try to make great things happen. These are people who demonstrate great commitment. You know, commitment became a hot word a number of years ago. I remember when Tom Peters wrote In Search of Excellence, and everybody started talking about excellence. And the only way to achieve excellence is through commitment. Oh, that's great. It's basic material, but still good. But then again, you see some people, the word commitment comes out of their mouth, and you observe their behavior, and you notice that the premise is really not in their heart. For example, how many of you heard about the kamikaze pilot who flew 188 missions? Let me tell you, that sucker was busy, but he was not committed. And high-powered entrepreneurs are not only committed, they're also dreamers. They have a great vision for what they're going to achieve, and they work diligently to make that vision happen. You know, we all enjoy sweet dreams and pleasant dreams. We dream about wonderful things that might happen. And then the alarm goes off, and the multitudes throughout America roll over and hit the snooze alarm, while the high-powered entrepreneurs hit the floor and go out and make something great happen, because they're not just dreamers, they're dream chasers. They are the men and the women who have an established vision. They attach great detail to that vision, and they get people around them who are going to help them achieve that vision. And tonight we celebrate that kind of behavior, because it's what not only made Memphis and Shelby County great, it's what made the United States of America great. People who are willing to make it happen. So we talk about the importance of communications and getting all those people around us to be inspired by our leadership and communicate effectively with everybody so that they're doing the right things and they're doing those things well. And entrepreneurs are so talented at getting people to do that. And you know, I look at some of the people in this room tonight and I think, wow, it's a challenge to communicate well with 10 people. And some of you have organizations of not 10, but 100, thousands of people. And you're communicating with them, and they're making great things happen. And that's really terrific, because, you know, even something as simple as your family, communications can break down. Has anybody noticed communications can break down in the family? I'll give you an example. How many of you have kids? Show of hands. How many of you have kids from another planet? Yeah, I know what you're talking about. We got to communicate with these people. And it's not easy, is it? Yeah, it's a great challenge. So you try to communicate with your kids and grandkids, and you try to do the best possible job you can, and you tell your kid, I'm so proud of you, and you did so well at that private school, and you're so articulate, and you're really, really great. However, I know you're going out on that job interview, and if you show up with your face looking like a tackle box, you ain't going to get the job. Some of those kids today need to hear about that. You know, we talk about family communications. Terry and I deal with this all the time. I mean, we are supposedly 2 pretty skilled communicators. We are both professional speakers, authors, and we give people advice on how to communicate. And sometimes Terry and I go like this. Now, I'll admit part of our problem is we are both extroverted, expressive type personalities. That means we talk a lot. We interrupt when we shouldn't. And that just kind of goes with the turf because the expressive type individual, you know, they say the average individual speaks at about 125 words a minute. Well, expressive speak at 300 with gusts up to 425. Now add to that the fact that Terry is also Italian. And that complicates it even worse. So the other day, she's saying something to me and I interrupted her midway through. She said, wait a minute. Hey, you're the aviator, and I hear you up there in the airplane, and you talk, and then you say over, and then that guy talks, right? I said, yeah, that's how it works in aviation. She said, well, why don't we try that? And then when I get through talking, I'll just say over. I said, I'll give it a try. So she talks a little while, and she said over. I knew it was my turn. I talked for a little while. I said over, and I got to tell you, we laughed about this a lot because it seems really stupid, but you know, it worked pretty well. Yeah, we got some good laughs. How many of you agree? Laughs are good, right? We got a few good laughs. Went to bed that night. Rolled over and I said, I love you, honey. Over. And we just laughed and went to sleep after a kiss. But you know, one of the real challenges is you're trying to do all this communications with the family. The only family communications flow that I've ever seen that really, really worked well. Have you ever noticed that grandparents and grandchildren never have a foul word? Grandparents and grandchildren get along great. Do you know why grandparents and grandchildren communicate so well? It's really very simple. It's because they share a common enemy. Simple psychology, right? Yeah. Oh boy, let's get back to business here. You know, tonight we have the privilege not only of honoring individuals, but the great free enterprise system of America was the platform that made all of the achievement possible for all Americans. And what a great thing that we've got the unlimited opportunity to get out there and to excel. Now we know that great big businesses are great. And we all know that. And big businesses used to be little businesses. But what really fuels the economy of the United States of America are millions of small businesses, started by courageous entrepreneurs who bit the bullet. They woke up one day and they said, I'm willing to sacrifice security for opportunity. I'm going to give up my regular job, and I'm going to go for it. And they figured out a way to come up with some financing, and they figured out a way to come up with a really good idea, and they worked long hours, worked very hard, worked very smart. They made a lot of great things happen. And we have all profited from all those great things that have happened. So tonight, we're not bashful in saying we celebrate entrepreneurism in America. Okay, to the business of the evening, one of the things I'd like to do is we have a number of the Society of Entrepreneurs members here tonight. Would every member of the Society of Entrepreneurs please stand up right now? Let's give them a hand because they have helped make this city great. And if you are a past president of the Society of Entrepreneurs, remain standing or stand back up if you're already seated. Let's see all our past presidents. Let's give them a hand for their leadership. And of course, we must also recognize our esteemed founder, Walker Uhlhorn. Would you stand up? The founder of the Society of Entrepreneurs, right up front here. We all thank you for your vision, Walker. At this time, I'd like to gratefully acknowledge all of our sponsors for tonight's event. First of all, we have our dinner sponsors, and I'd like to name each of them. Good Winds Landscape and Garden Center. You can, well, the Bruns family got a little extra applause there. Please hold your applause for the rest of them, okay? Next is Junior Achievement of Memphis in the Mid-South, Life Signs, Linkus Construction, McVeigh Trading and Investments, OR Nurses Nationwide, U.S. Learning. Then we also have our table sponsors, Hilliard Cruz, Donovan Enterprises, FedEx, Independent Bank, Inside Memphis Business Magazine, the Marston Group, the Albert J. Martin Family Foundation, Paragon Bank, the Shelby Group and MCR Safety, Sullivan Branding, V2 Media, the Cummins Wilson Family Foundation, Triumph Bank, Waddell and Associates, Winston Wolfe, and Youth Villages. Let's give all of those sponsors a round of applause. I would also like to take a moment to mention all of our favors tonight on the table. That little black box of chocolates, do not leave that. It's special. Philip Ashley Chocolates provided our favors tonight, as he did for both the Oscars and the Academy Awards. Where are you, Philip? Stand up, let us recognize you, man. You're getting out there. I can't see you, but we congratulate you anyway, Philip. Also, the wine and beverages this evening were provided by Athens Distributing Company. And we also have our media sponsor, Inside Memphis Magazine, Inside Memphis Business. And that media sponsor group we're happy to have on board. Did you see the wonderful article on all our new inductees in the last issue? Great job, Ken Neal and your people. We're happy to have our partnership with you. Okay. I would like at this time to invite to the lectern Mr. David Wedeman. David is the chairman of the membership committee of the Society of Entrepreneurs, and he's going to tell you about the process that the organization goes through in the selection of new members. So please join me in welcoming a man who's been working real hard the last year or so for Society of Entrepreneurs, David Wedeman.
Thanks, Don. You know, first of all, you hate speaking behind him because it really is a tough act to follow. You know, as chairman of the nominating committee, it's a tough job. But I was really lucky because I had a lot of good folks with me to do a good job with me. And I want to thank my committee members, R.E. Linkus, Bill West, Denise Burnett Stewart, Pat Lawler, Hilliard Cruz, David Andrews, Mike Bruns. They did an excellent job. And I want to tell you something. We have 3 that we're honoring tonight. It is very hard to narrow it down to 3. The nominees are fabulous. We have got such great entrepreneurs in this town, and we get some great people that get nominated. So for these folks that are here tonight, congratulations. It was a tough job. But Don was talking a little bit about it, and I'm looking at the nomination form that we have here. We have a nomination form. And it says there, a entrepreneur, which I still struggle and know how to type. I mean, it's a really tough word for me. A person who organizes and operates a business, taking on greater than normal financial risk in order to do so. Everyone here tonight took a chance. They took a chance that risked everything they had in some cases and everything that they did. And it's really great to see these folks who have given back so much. Because the other thing that we do in our organization, we also ask, what have you done after you were successful? And what did you give back? And I can safely say that all the Society of Entrepreneur members and these 3 that win tonight have given back so much to the community and so much to their people around them, including their fellow co-workers and society in general. And that's what makes the Society of Entrepreneurs special. Not only are they risk takers and successful people, but they have given back so much. And for that, congratulations to the new ones. You're very well deserved. Thank you for the committee. And thank you all for being here. And Pearson, great job again tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dave. And now I'd like to welcome up past president of the Society of Entrepreneurs, who is going to share a little additional information with us regarding the induction of new members, and that's Ellen Rolfs. Where are you, Ellen? Come on up. Let's give her a hand. Ellen Rolfs.
You know, it just seems like yesterday when I found myself sitting in a circle of these disruptive innovators. They were a group of guys, and I was one of the only two women, and we were sitting around having a sack lunch. And the one thing we knew was that the status quo was the disguise for decline. We began telling our stories to each other, and it became thrilling for me to discover that those men and that one woman were beating to their own drum. They were dwelling in possibilities that others did not yet see, and they began to push the system into uncharted waters. They were the people, you see, who followed their own visions, not those of others. They simply could not be assigned to play the role that the world had given them. It was impossible. So I immediately knew that I had found my people. It was no accident that we were all called together to start a society in order to recognize others just like us. But we were stuck because we knew while we had the definition, the one that Dave actually just read was a very much in the dictionary, but we had to define the essence of what was an entrepreneur. And we got stuck. We just couldn't do it. We actually argued back and forth. And so I remember when our founder, Walker, called in a consultant to help us. Walker, you remember that? And he came to town to break through this block because we had to get to the very essence of what was an entrepreneur before we could create a society around it. And this guy worked with us, and it just wouldn't come out. And finally he said to us, he said, just don't worry about it. Entrepreneurs recognize each other. You will know the trait when you see it in another. And I realized that wisdom just didn't really matter to have to define it. The wisdom was something we just knew. We could see it in each other. We could look in the essence and know it was like ours. And so we didn't worry about it any longer. We just said, let's just go out and do it. And that was the beginning of the Society of Entrepreneurs. So life went on, and I was making up my journey as an entrepreneur, doing what I've done and unraveling and restitching. And one day I had the good fortune to meet a woman named Carolyn Hardy. And I recognized instantly that she was one of us. You see, she had the traits big time. It was in her energy. She was a bold, creative thinker who overcame an insurmountable obstacles to follow her dreams. And never was she forsaking her family, her friends, and her community. She never left any of them behind. In fact, most of us, now this is the truth, most of us in this room tonight have never achieved in business what she has achieved. Nor have we ever changed the lives of another in our community to the degree that she has done in countless ways. To tell the truth, Carolyn should have been sitting in that first circle that started the Society of Entrepreneurs with a sack lunch with the rest of us, telling her story. Tonight, we're here to honor our first inductee. You will first meet her on the video in a moment, and that you will see is one of Memphis's most iconic entrepreneurs that we have ever had in this community. Then I will ask Carolyn to come to the stage, Carolyn Chisholm Hardy to come to this stage so that we can induct her into membership and give her the right place in the society that she at last would have because she deserves it. Thank you. The video, please.
I'm number 7 in the lineup of 16 children. My mother believed in education, even when I was coming up, but more than education, she believed in women. She really wanted to make sure her daughters received a college education. My first job out of college was with the J.M. Smucker Company. I was a staff accountant, and over the years I was plant controller. Then I was quality manager at Smucker's, first female and first African American quality manager within the company. From quality manager, I became HR manager. From HR, I became plant manager. I left Smucker's and went to Honeywell, the company that we worked on the software. Coors had come to me, I turned them down. I worked for Honeywell for a couple of years, did a lot of automation work for pharmaceutical companies. And then Coors came back and said, okay, we meet your demands. We'd like you to run our Memphis plant. I ran the Memphis plant Coors for 5 years. But what I really wanted to do, I wanted to go out on my own. And that's, the bug just hit me. So I was successful. I started my business September 1st, 2006. And actually Coors was my first customer. And Arizona Iced Tea was my second customer. We were a manufacturing site, and Coors only needed warehousing, so we were doing warehousing for them. I started expanding my transloading business, which had been out there since 2007. It's such a low-maintenance business that it was taking care of itself. And so we expanded the range site, purchased some more property, and then the next year started on another site for a group, and then we finished that site, and then the next year we started on another site. So we actually have 3 operating sites here in town. Whenever I see something that can be a business or growth opportunity, I watch things around me. And I've been watching that whole transloading space, not from the grain side, but just from everything else. My mom was my number 1 mentor. My sister, my oldest sister, was number 2. She's the number 2 child. And she was a mentor because I saw the value of an education. And then Paul Smucker, who passed when I left the company, Paul always believed I could do more. And when the opportunity to become plant manager was discussed, it was really important that you had somebody in the room that was on your side. And Paul always believed that if I put my mind to it, I'd be a great plant manager. So I've been fortunate enough to have quite a few mentors. I'm passionate about workforce development because, you hear all the time that over 30% of Memphians and a higher percentage of kids live in poverty. I remember living in poverty. I think as society, we have a responsibility to help move that needle. An entrepreneur has to know a lot about a lot of things, a little about a lot of things. And then once you know a little about it, you've got to be curious enough to learn a lot about it. And then all of a sudden, that becomes your passion, knowing more about it.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to start out by saying thank you to the Society of Entrepreneurs and the nominating committee for bestowing this great honor. As a young person growing up in poverty in Memphis, walking the streets of Orange Mound, I never imagined I could be the recipient of this type of award. I want to thank a lot of people who made this day possible. First, I'd like to thank God for his faith in positioning me to inspire others, to take risks, and to dare to dream. He continues to test my faith, my commitment, and my strength with new challenges and obstacles while using me to demonstrate that it's okay to follow your dreams. Next, I want to thank my mother, Lois Chisholm, and my dad, Sidney. This mother of 16 has lived such a courageous life. My mom is there. She has lifted... This lady of 16 inspired her children to reach high and dare to be different. We talk about getting outside of our comfort zone. I remember my first business trip back in, I'm trying to remember the year, I won't say it. I had never eaten at a white tablecloth restaurant, and I said, Mom, what am I going to do? She said, sit in the middle, watch everyone else, and order last. Mom, thank you for your common sense, your wisdom, and all your sacrifices, which allowed this day to happen. Love you, Mom. I would like to thank my supportive husband, who is a rock for the family. He continues to dream of a normal life with a normal wife. Every time he thinks I'm going to slow down, I speed up. He has been a great partner and a cheerleader for many years. You know the saying that behind every great woman there's a great man. Well, Marino, you're my rock. I would like to thank my 3 wonderful children. They have watched my career over the past 30 years, and they never complain. To be honest, they think that what I do is normal. I do not have the heart to tell them that this is not normal. My kids are awesome. As I think about the next generation and that one day we must leave things in their hands, if the hands of the other children are anything like my kids, we can rest in peace. Since, they're all winners in their chosen careers. Thank you, Jennifer, Whitney, and Chris. I would like to thank my brothers and sisters. They have been by my side as I've matured. My older brother and sister actually paid for my first semester at college because we were so poor. And my brother at the time was only 19 himself, and he took his savings and paid for my college education with my sister, and they never asked for a return. In addition, they've helped me raise 3 wonderful children. They've been my best friends. They're always my cheerleaders. So thank you guys for being my village. This journey would not have been possible without you. And last but not least, I'd like to thank Ellen Rose, Spence Wilson Sr., and Becky Wilson and Fred Davis for their willingness to be inclusive and recognize a broader circle of entrepreneurs. Ellen came to me to learn about my business journey over coffee one afternoon, and we laughed for about an hour talking about our career similarities. I said to Ellen after she made the nomination that, as far as I'm concerned, I received my crown in just knowing her, Becky, and Spence. Thank you so much. In closing, it truly takes a village. My village has been God, my mom's wisdom, my family, who I'm always proud of, my great friends, my great team, coupled with a solid education, experience, and opportunity. Because it does take a village. I have been blessed that this village chose me to shine. Thank you again for this great honor. Thank you.
Congratulations, Carolyn Hardy. Wow, what a story. Carolyn, not only did I enjoy your remarks, I learned something from you. Normal life, normal wife. Never thought about that. It's really good stuff there. Carolyn, congratulations. Certainly well deserved. At this time, please look to your left, my right, to the stage over here on the west end of the room, and join me in welcoming Mr. R.E. Linkus back up, our society president and founder of Linkus Construction Company, for the next presentation.
I tried to get Nat to get someone, silver-tongued person to introduce him in lieu of a damned old contractor, but he stuck with me. So, Nat, here it goes. It is both a pleasure and an honor for me to introduce my good friend, Nat Landau, founder of Landau Uniforms. Nat is a native Memphian and a true entrepreneur. In fact, I don't know why he wasn't part of this organization many years ago. Nat attended the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania with every intention of making a career on Wall Street. Nat and his lovely wife, Leslie, who was also involved in the business and served as their original designer, have been friends of mine for over 30 years and a longtime client of Linkus Construction. And from that, I thank you for your loyalty. Nat's father, Rudolph, started a retail uniform store in 1938, selling workmen's uniforms and uniforms for the healthcare community. Upon the death of his father, and after graduation, Nat returned to Memphis to help his mother operate the family business. A few years later, Nat, along with his brother, decided to expand the business to include manufacturing. The rest is history. In the 1980s, Landau Uniforms was the first manufacturer to introduce fashion-focused colors and print designs to the healthcare industry, creating a new market for Landau uniforms. A third generation of Landaus has now entered the business. Two of Nat's sons, Bruce and Greg, both attorneys, head up the management team at Landau. Landau Uniform employs more than 1,000 associates. And thanks to Nat's vision, hard work, and willingness to take risks, Landau Uniforms today is a well-known brand nationwide with sales throughout the U.S. and in more than 20 countries internationally. Nat has been actively involved in charitable activities, including serving on the board and as president of the Memphis Jewish Home, Beth Salom Synagogue, and Memphis Jewish Foundation. Now, if you would, please join me in watching this video.
Well, I grew up in Memphis. I went to college at the University of Pennsylvania, the Wharton School. I was heading to Wall Street, but I haven't gotten there yet. I came back to Memphis after graduation. My father had passed away when I was in my senior year, and I came back to be of some assistance. My father had a small uniform store, but he catered 100% at that point to the healthcare industry. We decided, my brother was in business with me at that point, to start manufacturing. And we started manufacturing with 5 people in the basement of our little store. And we've sort of grown since then. Eventually we had a plant here. We had plants in Mississippi and New Albany. And the latest plant we had was in Selmer, Tennessee. We do business in about 20 countries. North and South America, of course, Canada, of course, but we have customers in the Middle East. We have customers in various parts of Europe, Australia, and 1 or 2 customers in the Asia part, in Japan. So it's, our product is pretty well spread around. We've branched out just recently, just the last few months, and we bought a company that manufactures chefware. So we, in this point, we're sort of bringing it in-house and learning the chefware business. But we're still, the vast majority of our business is still medical apparel. We make accessories. We run a couple of 4 or 5 brands of shoes, stethoscopes. We have some corporate identity accounts, but healthware still represents the majority of our sales. My wife was my original designer. We were the first people to introduce prints. Not that many years ago, if you worked at a hospital, there were 4 colors: white, jade green, seal blue, and misty green. And we introduced colors, and that was mostly her doing. So I owe a lot of credit to her. I was really good about allowing people to grow. If they made a mistake, it was okay. We learned from it. I gave a lot of responsibility to people, and I didn't micromanage. If I have an ability, that's it. I don't micromanage. I've always tried to put myself in the place of my customer and to provide my customer with what I think he needs and what he wants. We've always tried to help our customer grow. You have to grow every year. You cannot stay the same. And we really believe that. I think if I have any ability at all, it's that I know how to take risk. And risk does not bother me.
Thank you, Ari. After all those kind words, I want you to know you still owe me lunch. I don't know, I don't know if you know this or not, but he and I have been together for many years. He built my first factory in Olive Branch sometime in the late 80s, and has followed up with several additions, a new building in Olive Branch, in New Albany, Mississippi, and Selma, Tennessee. I've thoroughly enjoyed working with the Lincas family. There are many people I'd like to thank. First, I'd like to thank members of the society for inducting me into this organization. It's quite an honor. I would like to thank my wife, Leslie, who has stood beside me and behind me. Not only has she been my wife for 58 years, but also she's been my best friend and partner. I am very grateful for our 3 sons, Reed, Bruce, and Greg, and their wives, Shelley, Suzanne, and Lynn. Bruce and Greg joined Landau Uniforms a number of years ago, something, I don't know, 20 years, 15 years, and have taken the business to a new level. I'd also like to thank my friends and associates, many who have joined me tonight. I've been fortunate to have had some very incredibly hardworking, loyal people. Some with me is almost 40 years. We started with a retail store on Madison Avenue with 5 employees, cutting and sewing uniforms in the basement. I learned as they did over the years what it took to grow the business and hone our respective skills to move forward where Landau is today. And I share this honor with all of you. I've never thought of myself as an entrepreneur. I've always felt that I was a lucky guy who was working and willing to take risks. Now, those risks haven't always paid off. Going back some 60 years while I was in college, I bought Army surplus portable typewriters to sell on campus. Little did I know that the Army only used them for sending telegrams, which were always typed in capital letters. There wasn't a lowercase letter in all 2,000 typewriters. I should have read the nomenclature. It was not my finest entrepreneurial moment. When I was first invited to join the society, I was asked what makes a good entrepreneur. And I've thought about this a bit, and it seems to me that you really have to be highly motivated to be successful. I was recently asked to help a company owner turn his business around. He spent most of his time doing what could easily have been done by his employees. And I suggested that he start going to neighboring towns to look for new customers. But he was more worried about missing his Wednesday morning golf game. Now, I know golf is important to many, but in my eyes, he just wasn't motivated enough to succeed. The other important trait that I've already mentioned is risk. Obviously, I'm not afraid of risk. Perhaps sometimes I should have been. My father actually taught me that no matter what happens, you just keep going. He had been a successful cotton merchant in Clarksdale, Mississippi, but in the late 20s, the bottom fell out of the commodities market. He moved to Memphis and started over. In today's global economy, when you can access capital from all over the world and raise funds with the click of a mouse, the entrepreneurial spirit is stronger and more important than ever. It takes courage to start your own business, but with a good idea, imagination, hard work, determination, and courage to take risks, new opportunities are always available. In Memphis, we don't have an abundance of middle and upper management opportunities to absorb the local talent. So here, necessity really is the mother of invention. I don't know if I was starting my company today, what challenges would be different or difficult. But I know that the tools I use to succeed may not be sufficient for the current environment. It's quite a different world, but at the same time, I know the fundamental characteristics of a real entrepreneur still hold true. It has been incorrectly attributed to Charles Darwin, but whomever said it, it is certainly valid. It is not the strongest of the species that survives, not the most intelligent. It is the one that is most adaptable to change. Thank you for this great honor.
Good evening. I'm very honored to be introducing a wonderful friend and business associate, Bob Loeb. I'm especially happy that Bob is actually here with us tonight. It seems he's announced to everyone he is on honeymoon until further notice. When I mentioned to Bob that the last person that I had the honor of introducing at a society dinner was Thomas Boggs, Bob told me how they first met. It was in Dallas. That's when Bob was a student at SMU, and he was having a difficult time getting a job as a waiter at TGI Fridays. That is, until the general manager noticed that Bob was wearing the same t-shirt that he had purchased on the Highland Strip in Memphis. That manager was Thomas Boggs, and they became lifetime friends. Thomas even counseled Bob when he opened his first restaurant and bar in Dallas. And since those early days, I've enjoyed and profited from many entrepreneurial business relationships with Bob, mostly involving the apartment business. Ledick and Loeb have done a lot of good things together, but my biggest regret is that Bob's striving for excellence has meant that he has hired away from Ledick some of our very best employees. I'm going to coin a phrase that I believe best exemplifies Bob: Renaissance renovator. Bob brings new life to what's already there. He heals neighborhoods and puts them back together. It's transformational the way Bob reuses old places and spaces. In fact, the leasing sign on one of his old office buildings reads, "Transforming Now." As only Dan Conaway could say, it's not just worth saving, it's worth savoring. And to steal the 4-H motto, Bob makes the best better. One of the ways he achieves his magic is to regularly walk neighborhoods in order to understand them. I worked with Bob's mother, Mimi Loeb, at the Arts Council in the Pink Palace, and I have such fond memories of seeing Mimi out doing her fast walk. Bob obviously learned from his mother how to do market research by walking neighborhoods. So really, when Bob walks, we all benefit. And Bob has been known to make quite an entrance, like when he surprised some guests from England who were at a party and asked, "Who is that heavily decorated war hero?" It was just Bob, as Carnival Memphis King, crashing the party. Please enjoy this video and see for yourselves the vision and passion Bob brings to everything he does.
am from Memphis, from a family of 9, 2 older brothers, a half a dozen younger sisters, and came into a family business that was, I'm the 4th generation, along with my brother, in a family enterprise. After college, my first job was a startup business venture in the then Memphis State area. Went to work at my father's company, which was primarily a retail concern. He was in convenience stores, fast food, and Brother Lou was working in the family business, so I joined Brother Lou. My father was basically retired, and Brother Lou and I kind of got out of the retail operations and focused on real estate investment and development. Well, Brother Lou was 18 months older than me. He is a great partner. We are very different in a lot of ways because of our different interests, and we've been involved in different areas of our family business together, but we seldom step on each other's toes because he's over in one area and I'm in another, and we trust each other implicitly, so we just let the other handle whatever they're doing. The retail businesses that my dad had, they used small retail spaces, and so he had a lot of property around town, some leased and some that he owned. We sold or closed his operations, released those spaces. We sold the lesser attractive properties and tried to trade into more attractive properties. We just started venturing around in the real estate sector. When we chose to do the Overton Square development, we had been pursuing that property for quite a while when we finally got a hold of it. And the difference with it from our other small retail developments is it was a bunch of small retail and restaurant properties that were adjacent to each other. We overlaid programming to the space. The tenants take care of what happens inside their spaces, but outside their space we wanted to have public events that gave people a reason for coming back. It was just as important to fix up the spaces between the buildings as the buildings themselves. Brother Lou and I have been very deliberate since we started our business together to set aside a portion of our bottom line to give back to the community. Churches, schools, organizations that our friends were active in, some more random than that. What would I tell a young person that's interested in starting their own business? I'd say follow your passions, trust your instinct, take measured risks, prioritize what it is you want to go after, and really focus on your best opportunities. Have fun.
Thank you, Scott, for the, I guess, very kind words. And I want to thank the society and so many of you here who have had such kind and encouraging words to say. I want to thank my colleagues and family, and especially my wife, for being here tonight. And it's truly an honor that I am humbled to represent our company here tonight. An honor to be in the presence of so many esteemed organizations here in Memphis, and humbled just by comparison with what I look at what so many of you create. And so thank you. I'm very grateful. I believe that we are created in our Creator's image to create. And what a privilege it is as entrepreneurs to go out and create something in the marketplace, whether it's product or a service, for profit or not for profit, that the marketplace says, we like that, and you can do that for a living. And so at our organization, our vision statement is that we strive to be the best developers of people and communities. And the people are our colleagues in our organization, and the communities are. We're a local company. We're just in this region, and so the communities are the neighborhoods that we do business in. And so our developments are really a team effort, and I'd like to recognize my colleagues who are here with us tonight. Earl Williams, our COO and CFO, Matt Prince, VP of Development and Brokerage, and Gene Saxon, our counsel. And it really is a team effort, and so I just represent our team here. I suspect the reason we're being recognized is we've gotten a lot of accolades for Overton Square, and what we've learned there that's really been different from other developments that we've done is to collaborate with others to create something that the community wants. They say marketing 101 is give people what they want, and so we collaborated with a number of organizations over in the Midtown area and Overton Square to give the community something that it wants. And there it was a theater arts district, and it really is energizing to connect with people who are passionate about whatever. It's really been great for our organization. And we're trying to take lessons learned there to other parts of the city. My high school classmate, college roommate Cecil Humphreys drafted us into the University District a couple of years ago and said, hey, why don't you bring some of that Overton Square stuff over here in the University District? And there are great things going on at the University of Memphis right now, and what an important institution in our community. So to be able to build in that neighborhood is, we're in the shadow of an anchor institution that is so important to our community, and there's a 501c3 community development corp called University Neighborhoods Development Corporation that has been around for about 15 years, master planning what should happen in the University District. And if you haven't gone on one of those walking tours yourself recently, you ought to walk through the university and see what's going on, from this fabulous facility here to on campus. And what the university's in the process of doing is opening the campus up to the neighborhoods that surround it. And this area is really going to be transformed over the next couple of years, and it's, again, energizing, fun to be a part of that process. We have so many special assets in Memphis, so many great neighborhoods that can be redeveloped, that are being redeveloped, from downtown to Medical District to Midtown, University District. And we look forward to participating with others, doing our bit part in real estate to support people with passions about redeveloping areas. The Medical District is you'll see so much going on there over the next couple of years, and it's fun to be a part of it. So I want to thank the nominating committee, and again, all of you for your kind comments, and thank you very much.
Great success story. We do not give the Master Entrepreneur Award each year. It's something that's noteworthy, it's special. It happens every few years when there is indeed a person who is worthy of that award. And we have such a presentation tonight. And this is an award which is given in concert with Junior Achievement of Memphis and the Mid-South. And by the way, the handouts you received here this evening include a folder on Junior Achievement and their current activities. They have been impacting on the lives of grammar school kids, high school kids for many, many years, and have indeed, in and of itself, made a contribution to entrepreneurship in our society. So we appreciate all that great work, and we're very pleased to partner with Junior Achievement. And this award, tonight, I would like to set up our presentation by inviting to the stage Mr. Morgan Bohannon. And Morgan is the chairman of the board of Junior Achievement at this time. And also, I'd like to invite up Hilliard Cruz, who is last year's recipient of that award, who will participate. And let's give them a hand as they come forward and prepare to see who our recipient is.
As the chairman of the board of Junior Achievement of Memphis, I'm honored to once again be here with you tonight to select and present this Master Entrepreneur Award. It's hard to believe that we have been involved in this in 18 years. So I guess that Our partnership is officially an adult. At JA, we service 20,000 kids each year. And the reason we service those kids is to help them as they grow to adulthood, to prepare them for their work skills and their life skills so that they will be productive business and community leaders. By providing that hands-on experience and teaching those children financial literacy and entrepreneurship, we are inspiring those kids to understand how business works. And who knows, in the coming years, one of them may very well be sitting in your seat. As a matter of fact, one of them in future years might be a master entrepreneur. In case you're wondering how we inspire those children, I think we've already mentioned that there's a packet on your table. Feel free to flip through that. We appreciate this partnership and look forward to many years to come. Let me introduce our 2015 Master Entrepreneur, Hilliard Cruz.
Thank you, Morgan, and thank you, Don, our outstanding MC. It is my pleasure tonight to introduce our 21st Master Entrepreneur, Pat Lawler. Let me say a few words about Pat. He has devoted his entire adult life to serving the most vulnerable children in our city. Pat worked for the Juvenile Court of Memphis and Shelby County, and also worked for Tall Trees Youth Guidance School while completing his degree at the University of Memphis. He got a graduate degree there also. In 1980, Pat was appointed to lead the fledgling Dogwood Village Residential Treatment Center, and many expected him to shut this facility down. The embattled campus served about 24 youth, had a shoestring budget of $150,000, and more problems than anyone could count. However, Pat, the visionary he was, saw something no one else saw, and his vision helped this campus thrive, which led to the eventual formation of youth villages. With Pat at the helm for more than 30 years, Youth Villages has grown into a $200 million nonprofit with more than 2,700 staff serving 22,000 kids annually from 72 locations in 12 states. The organization has garnered praise from well-known institutions like Harvard Business School and the White House. I guess that's an institution, the White House. In 2006, Pat joined a distinguished group that included business titans Warren Buffett and Michael Bloomberg and Supreme Court Justice Sandra Day O'Connor by being named one of America's best leaders by U.S. News and World Report. He's a frequent guest speaker at Columbia and Harvard Business School. Pat's infectious enthusiasm and perpetual drive extends past his career. After participating in 5 medical mission groups to Central America, Pat returned more than a dozen times on his own to a small village in Honduras where he worked to provide housing, water, electricity, and dental care to one of the most impoverished villages in the country. His son, Brad, accompanied him on 3 of those trips. Pat is an avid cyclist and swimmer. He has run hundreds of road races and triathlons and has biked across the state 5 times on the Tennessee Adoption Tour. One final comment. Everybody should understand it is very difficult to get this award if you're involved with a nonprofit. You have to be a very dynamic individual, super business acumen, and be heavily involved in the community. You will see why we have selected Pat Lawler as this year's Master Entrepreneur in the video. Let's go to the video and hear Pat's story.
I was working at the juvenile court in January of 1980 as a probation counselor when I was called one afternoon to Judge Turner's office, and he shared a story with me about a struggling residential program called Dogwood Village and needed my help. He said, "Pat, they're about out of money. They're about to lose their state license. Their board of directors, most have resigned, and they really just have no budget to operate." After I visited a couple days, I decided to accept the job. What Judge Turner didn't know was I had no idea you even needed a license to operate or what a board of directors was, and had never seen a budget. We had 25 young people and 9 staff, and we struggled for 5 or 6 years, but finally borrowed some money and started making a little progress.
And then in 1986, another program in our community was having trouble called Memphis Boys Town, and they came to us to ask for help. And we agreed basically at that point to join the 2 organizations, Dogwood Village and Memphis Boys Town, and create a new organization called Youth Villages.
Nobody knew about this place. I just knew it was a cause worth supporting, and he was an individual worth getting behind. I could see the quality in him at that time, and I have not been disappointed over the years.
Pat Lawler is a hard-driven individual who sees the finish line before anybody else even knows there's a race. He has exceeded everyone's imagination but his own. There's no way anybody dreamt of this 25, 30 years ago, but Pat Lawler did.
Actually, I started this work 43 years ago when I graduated from high school, and we had a high school football coach who was a volunteer, but he was also the executive director of Tall Trees Youth Guidance School, which is a program here in Memphis for abused, unruly, delinquent boys, and asked if I wanted to come to work there that summer following high school, and I did on my 18th birthday and became a college counselor. And it was an exciting job. I was especially drawn to the most troubled kids in the group, maybe because they demanded so much attention. It was more than just a job, it was something fun, you know. Of course, I was young, and I was, you know, about the same age as most of the kids for that matter there. Our primary focus is to help the most emotionally troubled, abused, neglected, unruly young people in those communities, help keep them safely with their families, you know, working intensely with the parents or the people in the home who are responsible for the families, the school system, the peer group. But we want to make sure we've given that young person every possible opportunity to succeed while they're, you know, in our care.
The biggest character trait that Pat Lawler has is he has never forgotten the children. It's all about the kids.
When I first came to Dogwood Village, we had no money. We had no benefits. The furniture was just stuff people had donated. We had a couple ragged vehicles that people had donated. And I really felt that that was what we were supposed to be. We were a charity. That's the lifestyle our organization was supposed to have, and that was the way it was supposed to be with kids. You lived on what people would give you, and you just survived day to day. But a board member named Jim Pickle came on our board in 1983, and he was one that convinced me that we didn't have to live this way. That that we need to start thinking about building an organization and truly trying to find resources to be more successful, but also grow the organization. Bill Key had a great impact on me in the early years. I mean, he was a fantastic executive director, way ahead of his time in terms of building a strong organization here for young people, and was well recognized across this community of being a leader caring for young people. As we look at the future organization, we see ourselves mostly growing in a handful of states across the country. While we'll continue to grow as an organization, we're also going to spend as much time in teaching others how to use some of the methods that we use in working with children and families. My advice to anyone starting a business would first be to, find something to do that you're extremely passionate about, and then find a group of friends or family members or just people in your life that care as much about you do, about what you're trying to achieve in your job or in your mission. And then make sure you surround yourself with a lot of experts that can give you a lot of advice, but also be willing to take the risk of learning everything you can about that business. Then of course find the necessary resources to help you fulfill your mission. We're devoting so much time to what's going on today in our organization. We know that there's so much more to do.
Pat, I cannot tell you how proud I am of you for being the recipient of the Master Entrepreneur Award for 2016. I am so proud of what you have accomplished in your career from that very early start, and it's just been so rewarding to me to see how you have grown, matured, and become the consummate entrepreneur and the consummate leader that you have been. Your passion, your perseverance, your dedication are enormously gratifying to me. It's so, so special. Thanks.
Thank you, Hilliard, Morgan, and the Board of Society. I am very honored. But you must know I had a head start. My brothers and I had the best parents in the world. They sent us to the best Catholic schools, never missed a school or a sporting event or scouting event, and I'm thankful that my mom, Marge, is here tonight. My dad was one of those guys who could fix anything. He had no professional training, was raised in an orphanage, and dropped out of high school. But he's bringing his 3 boys together and show us how to fix, a vacuum cleaner, a toaster, and we got older bicycles, a lawnmower, and then the car. And he'd say, it doesn't work. You can't hurt it. You just have to have the courage to try. I have 2 children, Brad and Brooke. And when most parents brought home work, it meant something in their briefcase. My kids were a laboratory of sorts for me. I'd be working on some new techniques, some discipline techniques that work with the kids, and I'd come home and practice on mine. But they were too smart. They'd say, Dad, that psychological stuff may work on those kids at work, but not on us. The primary reason I'm standing here tonight is because of the people sitting at those tables right through here. Many of our top leadership staff are here, some of our key funders, some former board members, and current board member Jimmy Lackey is also here. He's served on our board for more than 10 years now. Most organizations mark their success by defining moments, a new idea, a breakthrough discovery. At Youth Villages, we mark our success by defining people. Like a man who came up to me 34 years ago and gave me his business card and said, call me if I can help. I was speaking to his Wednesday night supper class at church, and I did call him 2 years later. And I said, Spence Wilson, would you lead our first capital campaign to build a school and a gym? And he did, raising twice as much money as the campaign goal. He was a dream come true. And a friend for life. In 1994, one of our newest board members, who was relatively quiet at first, but it wasn't long before we learned that Mike Brunn's business acumen and passion for helping children would dramatically impact the future of our organization. Mike has served on our board now for more than 20 years, and most of that time as chair, and has helped us build the organization we call Youth Villages today. And Clarence Day. Now, he was a handful at times. The first time we met, he said, I want to know more about the kids you're helping than the ones you're not helping. His determined curiosity and generous support put us on a new path to develop a program for young people who grew up in the child welfare system to become successful adults. My son Brad, who is here tonight, came to me a few years ago and said, Dad, I have an idea and I'd like to start my own business. I said, Brad, I'm so proud of you. It'll be very, very hard, a lot of long hours and sleepless nights. And 80 to 90% of startups fail. He said, Dad, I know that, but I would rather try and fail than have never tried at all. We can't fear failure, can we? I rarely think about the early days at Youth Villages, but talking with Brad about his current business ventures and thinking about the remarks I was going to make tonight, I gave some more thought to those early days. At times, my work was almost like play to me. I couldn't sleep at night. I'd be so excited about getting to work the next day. Bill Key gave me more than just a job when I was 18 years old at Tall Trees. He gave me a lifeline. I am so fortunate that Bill and Marge Lawler moved here in 1958 with their 3 toddlers. We have a great city filled with wonderful people that have always supported us, but have seen so many people in recent years with such courage to try. Broad Street, Crosstown, Highland Row, and my favorite, the Harahan Bridge Project. At Youth Villages, we work with extremely emotionally troubled young people and their families, and we're proud of our progress over the years, but no, we have so much more to do. And we will never, ever stop trying. Thank you for this recognition.
Well, what a great evening. Don, again, I want to thank you for an outstanding job. Let's give him another round of applause, please. This event would not be the same without you. As 2 special young ladies, I'd like to recognize tonight Pearson Crutcher, our Executive Director, and her assistant, Lisa Andi. Can you stand up, please? Would you stand up, Pearson and Lisa? Okay, I can't see you. All right. Thank you so much for putting this together tonight. You did an excellent job, as always. Again, congratulations to Pat, Carolyn, Nat, and Bob. I want to thank each of you for coming out tonight and supporting the society. This is concludes the program. Good evening, and the bar is open until 11 o'clock. One other announcement Pearson asked me to make. Would all the new members and presenters and their families come to the center stage for pictures, please? Thank you.